Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Delight to have Jon Velie, as always, on the program. He's a regular contributor on the program, brings such great information that I think is so important, plus introduces us to some of the finest attorneys around the country with their own story. Jon Velie is an attorney out of Oklahoma. He is a thought leader when it comes to helping helping individuals pursue the American dream. His website, onlinevisas.com, is extraordinary. And, you know, it's been around for several years, Jon, but it's still years ahead of the competition. How do you explain that?
Well, we got in early, Kevin. We were I was corporate counsel for a web design company in the 90s, and I watched the Internet go from the sale of goods to the sale of services when stockbrokers went online, and I was spending so much time flying to their office that I needed to create a device that allowed me to communicate with clients and collect clients, and that's when Online Visas was born. And we were noted by the American Bar Association as an award-winning firm because of that, or our site was. And since that time, we've sort of just looked at how to disrupt the legal profession and give more value to our clients by really giving away a lot of information, helping them get their goal.
Yeah, no question about it. OnlineVisas.com. One of the things you also do for us is bring some great guests on the program. Who do you got for us today?
Well, we got Mike Foster. He's a preeminent attorney in South Florida who specializes in bankruptcy litigation. He really has a great practice because he represents the creditors who are sort of being swindled out of monies owed to them when people file false bankruptcies, and he's got some great stories. Just a really great lawyer.
Mike, welcome to the program. Kind of start off, if you will, with the elevator speech about your firm.
Sure. Well, listen, I always tell people that this is businesses and wealthy individuals behaving badly, and that sounds a little bit glib, Kevin, but the truth is that the bankruptcy process is not just about debtors getting a fresh start, but it's also about folks using the advantages of the bankruptcy process to avoid paying legitimate debts. And so one of the things that we do is to make sure that they can't escape by using that process.
Yeah, very good. You know, and people, there's got to be some moral hazard out there, doesn't there?
There's no question that that's the case. And it's like every system. It's set up, of course, with the best intention, but there's always someone out there who will use it for a bad purpose. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Jon?
Well, Mike has a great reputation, Kevin. He's really done some excellent work to get people back monies owed to them, and a lot of this starts with his philosophy of how he practices law, and I'd really like to kick it over to him to explain what that is.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, sure. I think it's kind of about how we are and how we approach what we do, and it really boils down to three things. The first is, and I don't expect that this is a lot different from you guys, but we love our jobs. And the fact is that we're advocates, and we like being in that role. And you'd be surprised how many attorneys especially kind of went to law school as that being the next thing. Well, that's not what where we are. We certainly made a deliberate choice, and I in particular, to go into this business. And as I said in my a long time ago in my law school application, we wanted to affect some positive change. I think we also know how to do things. We know how to put the tool belt on, which is to say that just because you have a hammer, and there's lots of hammers out there, every problem you have isn't a nail. And that comes down to really three things. You have an expertise in a subject area. We know which buttons to press, which is to say which tools that work. We know the bankruptcy code and also how to be courtroom or trial lawyers. I have the flexibility, I believe, to modify my approach when a strategy isn't working. And you got to be sensitive to counsel and the judge. And sometimes just making your voice louder isn't going to work. John and Kevin, you've got to be a little more sensitive and to respond to the questions that are being asked of you. As I like to say, judges judge, and so that is to say they bring their own personal experiences and their own personal views to a decision, and so you've got to respond to those, and so you've got to be flexible. And then finally, I think I am and we are more sensitive than most to the objectives of the client and the toll in terms of business interruption or personal toll that litigation, particularly in a bankruptcy forum, can take. And so we're going to go up front and throughout the process into great detail and kind of explaining budgets and timelines and try to come up with solutions that'll be kind of a right fit for both the problem and the client, whether that's a financial solution or perhaps the types of actions that we take in a matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very good. John?
Well, Mike has won a number of awards dating back to the early 2000s. Peer review rated AV preeminent by Martindale-Hubbell. That's about as good as that gets. He's been voted in by his peers as a super lawyer, and a number of others. Most effective lawyer, top lawyers in South Florida. Mike, what do you attribute to your success?
Well, I think really it's a combination of those difference makers that I just described, but I'll tell you something else. I think I've been able, and I'm blessed to be able to take a hard position and yet not make this into what you so often see in court, which is kind of the personal attack on the lawyers on the other side. So I would like to think of it this way, John. Sometimes you get in a fight in the schoolyard, and then you become best friends with that kid afterwards. Well, I think that's kind of the way this has been for me. I've been able and fortunate to be able to, as I win, to do it in a professional way, in a way that doesn't minimize the other side, either the lawyer or, in most circumstances, the client that lawyer is representing.
Yeah, very, very interesting, and I think it's so important. There's so much talk on the the abdication of debt side, and I'm really glad, John, that you brought on this important perspective that people don't just have to roll over and play dead.
Well, it's important when we look at who we want to hire as lawyers. We want guys that know what they're doing. They have to be effective. They have to be persuasive to judges. They also have to be able to get along with the other attorneys because in many cases you'll settle. And Mike has a great reputation amongst his peers because he is effective. He does win, but you can get along with the guy. You can find places that are you're going to be able to work things out, and many times that's much more inexpensive for the client, and you get the client a better deal.
Yeah, no question about it. By the way, give your website, Mike.
Sure. It is Tripp Scott, which is TRIPP, Scott, SCOTT.com. And you can see my picture will be there as the homepage loads. You can just click on me and get all the information you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead and get that one more time.
Sure. It's www.trippscott.com, which is TRIPPSCOTT.com.
Yeah, very good. Got about a minute and a half left. John, why don't you wrap it up for us?
Well, we always like to have great lawyers come on the show, Kevin, as you know. Mike's an excellent guy. Not only does he do, a great practice in South Florida, he can be utilized around the country. We have a concept called Pro Hac Vice, where lawyers like Mike and myself will go to other places and litigate with a local counsel, and he can do that for folks in this situation. Again, he not only does the bankruptcy litigation, but other commercial stuff, and he has a nice pro bono practice as well. So we like guys like that, and really appreciate him being on the show.
Well, I think it was a great topic, a great subject, and I'm assuming that with a lot of the weirdness happening in the economy, we got hearing great, economic stories all the time. But systemically, I still worry about our economy, Mike, and I'm wondering, are you pretty busy these days?
We are. It's interesting, Kevin. there was a real downturn, even with the economic downturn in the filing of bankruptcies because financing wasn't available. But we are still seeing a large variety of work on what we call the liquidation side. So maybe not as many reorganizations as we used to see, but definitely companies coming in and selling off their assets to try and satisfy creditors.
Yep, I appreciate both of you gentlemen very much. Jon Velie, as always, great job. onlinevisas.com. Excellent segment. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right, do you want to remind the listeners best content here does show up over there at usdailyreview.com. While there, make sure you like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter, and this is The Price of Business.